making a little pivot, another big issue we've been hearing about as of late has been over the Oakland Raiders potentially becoming the Las Vegas Raiders. There's a big move by Sheldon Adelson and Mark Davis to not just get a stadium built, but potentially get fully reimbursed by the state and the county for the stadium. How do you feel about not just the prospect of maybe the Raiders coming here, but what the role of the public should be in terms of whether we should, in essence, pay for the stadium?
You do recall I did support the public-private partnership of the downtown Perspective Arena when we were talking to Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
So that's no secret, and I did. I think we've had some very successful public-private partnerships in the city of Las Vegas that we can look back on and say, hey, this was a success, that was a success.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a success also. In fact, Major League Soccer is talking to us again. There's still that reality.
Yeah.
To have an actual NFL franchise in Las Vegas, I've always supported Oscar Goodman's attempts to bring national franchises to the city of Las Vegas. I think that would be a boon for us. I think that we would certainly now be we're on the radar anyway. Las Vegas is, the brand is huge, and that's important that we continue to push that brand. I think there's a reality to it. I think we're also going to see what comes out of the governor's tourism and gaming meetings when they're all done, and what those recommendations are going to be to the legislature in regards to what's going to be funded. Will it be a dome stadium? Will it be light rail? Will it be the continued expansion of the Las Vegas Convention Center? And that's a huge priority for me because there's a target on our back when it comes to convention business. And that convention business, gaming and tourism employs about 300,000 people in this valley, and 1/3 of our population is touched by the convention sector, and 1/3 of our population is working in the convention and business sector. So we have to keep our eye on that ball and not lose track of what's really, really important to the economy in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, I certainly know there are certain entities who have been worried as of late. They'd like to see that committee recommend the convention center expansion. Are you concerned that we're now in a position where potentially we have this Sophie's choice of, do we support expansion of the convention center, which can really help in locking down those big trade shows, or do we support this big dome stadium that may or may not result in an NFL franchise moving to town?
You see, that's a big question right there. May or may not. I don't think we can go down that path. If there's going to be a dome stadium, there better be a team attached to it, right? Before the first shovel goes into the ground. Subsidizing with public money, to a point, but certainly not fully reimbursed for it. I think the private sector, there's plenty of dollars in the private sector to do that, to promote that. We just saw what MGM did with their
T-Mobile Arena.
T-Mobile Arena, which I haven't been to yet, but I understand is fabulous. So my wife and I are really excited about going to see that. But I think all of the above, and I think that Southern Nevada's economy needs all three. It needs all of the above. It does need some kind of stadium for bigger venues and events. I'd love to see the Super Bowl played in the city of Las Vegas. I know you would too. That's great for our economy, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to see all the Pro Bowls played right here in Las Vegas. I'm a little selfish in that respect. But, we got to consider our public transportation, and what does that look like today, and what do we want to see it grow up to be? I spent 6 years on the Regional Transportation Commission, so I'm passionate about getting people moving. We've done a great job with our buses and our rapid transit routes in the valley, but I think there's more we can do. And the convention center. Absolutely a must to continue that expansion and not lose track of the ball in that industry.
Yeah. Now, getting to transportation, I brought up another thing being considered by that Tourism Infrastructure Committee, and apparently a big deal over at County Government Center, which is what to do about this, these proposal that's been bouncing around for a long time on rail. A lot of folks have been pushing for this, yet there has been a lot of resistance to the point where, as we saw with the monorail, it only goes from one point to another and doesn't even touch the city of Las Vegas, doesn't go downtown, doesn't go to the airport. do you think it's time we finally have a full rail system that goes from the airport to downtown?
I think it's twofold. I think that we need light rail. And let me back up.
Yeah.
Tina Quigley at the Regional Transportation Commission, General Manager, has just conducted a 2-year study of that transportation. I was still on the board when we started that study. And I support that study. I support the concept of light rail from the airport coming down Maryland Parkway, and you can connect that rail with the monorail. And you're going to notice here soon that you're going to start to see some monorail expansion because I think it's going to go all the way to Mandalay Bay. So we want to connect all of our major convention spaces with public transportation or some kind of transportation. Get them off the streets. Get them on something that they get to and from the hotels from, all the way to the floor space. But I think it works both directions. Light rail connection and then the connection with the monorails continuing to expand to other properties as well. So I think we're going to see that.
Now, we're seeing an alternative proposal being floated at the county. My understanding, it's an elevated expressway with lanes going into Trop to Koval. I was at that Tourism Infrastructure Committee when Dr. Robert Lang from Brookings Mountain West gave quite a passionate speech about that. So, how do you feel about potentially, well, we already have freeways, why not just do a little mini freeway there and get the cars moving?
Well, they were talking an elevated parkway, if you will, and in other cities throughout this country, those elevated parkways are being torn down. I mean, that's yesterday's thought process.
Yeah.
We're in a totally different time period, and I'll use a couple of examples. I haven't been to Colorado yet, to Denver to see their light rail, but I have been to Salt Lake. And that light rail in Salt Lake has been such a boon for everyone on that route. When I used to see places in Salt Lake that were blighted, they're blossoming now because of that light rail. So I think that that's an archaic plan. I think it's a ridiculous plan. I think that the better taxpayer money can be spent much better. I think that there's an opportunity to actually fund some portion of that light rail system today and make sure we have that connectivity to the monorail so you've got options. That's what people want. They want choices. How am I going to get from the airport to my destination? Do I take a cab? Can I take the rail? What is it that I'm going to take to get there?
Yeah.
So I think it's providing those options. I think the county's idea of building these elevated roadways is antiquated and old. So